Yo, what's up, everybody? I kind of got a hold of a little bit of a new knife, and well, it's not absolutely new, but it's certainly new to me, and it has something to do with a lot of these guys here. That's not one of them. There we go. These are all Ganzos. These are basically all of their D2 flippers. Um, There's some that I don't have. I think the 41 and the 61 I don't have. They just didn't really do it for me. But we got quite a few of these guys. This is the Skiman uh, guy, which I basically purchased because I was curious, and also, well, it's purple. Go figure. Um, it's an interesting knife. It's actually a full frame lock. That's not really what I'm on about today, though. So, when I first got the FH11, this little guy, this is in the gray, but it's rather bluish. That's fine with me. Whatever. I noticed that this dude's really small. For my hands, it comfortably goes three, maybe 3.5, maybe kind of things, and it kind of made me rather disappointed because I was used to a lot of their Access style knives that are quite a bit larger. But this guy's a little dainty one. But at the same time, I picked up a couple of others. I think this was the 21 that I got around the same time, and this one has a little bit more substantial handle to it, which is fine. Uh, it's one of my more favorites of theirs so far. All of these guys are on steel bearings, by the way. Um, and this guy is the 51. Way too small for me. I'm not super that much of a fan of it. It's a lot the same size as the FH11. This guy, as you can kind of see there. Oops. Also, the brown that they have for this isn't. It's more of a tan, but yeah, whatever. Um, these guys, whatever. The 91 is the action on it is just drop shutty. It's pretty scary with just the nice amount of drop shuttitude. Absolutely no blade play, nice centering, all that sort of stuff. Really like this one. This is probably my favorite one so far. Here's the 71, which was my previous favorite before I got the 91 over here. This one has their carbon fiber, but I actually did choose this one particularly because I did like how that kind of looked with the grooves in there and everything. You can see I've probably needed to clean this guy off a little bit. But yeah, this one was my favorite up until I picked that one up. And you got, of course, the worn foot style guy that's here. It does have a choil on it, as with almost all knives, especially Chinese design knives. It's probably not quite large enough for my finger that I'm comfortable using it. This one's neat. Unfortunately, this one, my particular one, the detent is amazingly weak. Now I can flip it open each time without fail, but the detent on it itself, very, 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 very weak. Oh well. But what I wanted to take a look at actually today, instead of just ranting on stuff, was this is the FH11. It was kind of one of the first in there using D2 steel and liner locks and whatnot. And like I said, it's a little dainty for me. But I've seen a lot of people kind of talking and mentioning more about the 12 and the 13, which this is. Um, and I wasn't really paying attention, but I figured, you know what, I'll pick it up. I kind of like these flat steel kind of guys. This guy actually reminds me quite a bit of the Rake P801 or Ruaiki. It's apparently pronounced Rake, but and that's a fun knife to play with. Only this one doesn't kid around by not putting a thumb stud on there, where the Rake one does, and I've actually torn um, part of my nail bed trying to actually force it out. But this guy is fully stainless steel, so it's a liner lock, but it's basically a variant of this guy. What I didn't realize when I first got it, or when I had ordered it, is wow, there's a size difference. And it may not seem like a whole lot, but this guy fits fantastically all four fingers there for me. Super nice. I also got the 13. There's the 12 that's basically the same thing, but it's not darkened, I guess. The handles are a little lighter gray, and it doesn't have that on here. It's really not. I mean, it's not like a full blade coating. It's kind of what Kershaw would refer to as a black wash, but I think that's patented for them, so they can't necessarily call it that, but same kind of thing. Another super interesting thing that I've noticed about this is they've actually given you the finger landing kind of cutouts there that I've seen on a few knives, like the Harden's Assassin, I think, comes to mind as I'd recently kind of taken a look at that. And I really appreciate that. That's a nice little touch that they threw in there. That's an improvement over the standard 11. I had just basically picked this guy up today, so I haven't really used him for a whole lot other than opening up some groceries and whatnot that I got delivered to me during this whole Rona quarantine kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm really liking it. I have just taken it apart, and that actually comes into the first thing that I really want to mention about it. I'll go ahead and set this guy aside. Unfortunately, well, I won't quite yet, because there's one last thing here. Pocket clip, basically the same, but it matches the darker aesthetic there. But they didn't bother to mill it out on the show side, so lefties, get no love. Not with this one, at least. But yeah, it's put together rather well. I appreciate it quite a bit. Like I said, I'd taken it apart, and I'm going to do so again. What I can say, from the very first get-go of it, is the pivot on this guy in particular was pretty heavily caked in, well, you can't really tell from the color, but felt to be permanent Loctite, not, the blue thread locker versions. Because it took me taking a hairdryer to it a little bit, and then actually putting a little bit of torque on it. And the other thing about it is that the pivot is not D-shaped or anything, so it would just spin kind of around and around and around. And that's okay. I mean, it's not my preference, but we have ways of getting around that. And that's what I'm going to do right here. You know what? The pivot's T8. All the rest of the hardware is T6. That's pretty standard for the industry. I do like that some manufacturers are moving more and more towards T8. And Tucson in particular gets quite a lot of praise for that sort of thing. But, okay. Then that's kind of annoying, where it's there, but I do have to actually remove the pocket clip to actually get that screw out. Not ideal, pocket clip screws on these are much shorter than the rest of the body screws, so you definitely want to keep those all together. So there's that, and I have one of those removed. Let's get another one of these back spacers. It doesn't seem like these back spacers are D-shaped, but they're so snug in there that it really doesn't matter. I'll show you what I mean kind of when we get a little further in. You can see it's G10 backspacer, and I'll get a little bit more into that once we crack into this bad boy. So, alright, usually I will fit this guy here, and I can get the other one and just turn them out. So, there you go. You can see a little bit of my blue Loctite that I've recently put on it when I put it back together. But, we're taking it apart, so whatever. Alright, I'll push the pivot through, and that way I can pull the blade out. And you can see that this is riding on steel bearings. They're not dark and black like ceramic bearings are. I have apparently a little bit more than I needed, but I'm using KPL knife lube. Me and just about everybody else kind of noticed that the labels on these really wear off pretty quickly. It's a little funny. This did originally come with some sort of thicker grease on it. And what I can say is that I've also seen that on the, specifically on this 91. So it's probably something that they're doing a little bit more with recently than they had with others in the past. And that's, you know, fine. I certainly removed it. But, so yeah, this is where I've run into some fun trying to get this thing apart, especially after getting that pivot out, and it was still giving me trouble. So I got just a spudger. Usually, you know, if a knife is worth quite a bit and or you care about it, you probably want to use a plastic spudger, but well, I have this steel one here, and this is all steel on the inside. So here we go. You got your G10 backspacer here. You can see the milling pattern and everything on there, kind of showing that it is fibrous on the inside. And there you go. You got your steel ball bearing. You get your blade stop pin. This is actually the pin that will go here that you can use for a lanyard loop. So it's kind of nice that they kind of have that on the outside rather than drilling a hole right through it, which I kind of like that approach better. Keeps the show side of the knife a little cleaner, and that always makes me happy. And then here's the pens. This one actually came out not too terribly difficultly, and that guy was pretty well wedged in there. So they do a pretty good job of holding on to a lot of that. Now it is skeletonized, which is great actually. This thing is a little weighty. It's well, let me grab my other phone because I have some information there on it. Yeah, it's about 111 grams or 3.9 ounces, which is a little bit different than the smaller guy, which is 80 grams or 2.8 ounces. So much more dainty in general. There's also a blade stock difference, but I'll get into that. And 3, 2, 1. Apparently, this is where I'm going to do it. Okay. So I got a set of calipers here. They're not very special calipers at all, but you see this guy's got a blade stock somewhere right around 2.9 millimeters. And a blade stock on the bigger boy here. I usually like to measure them right at the flipper tab. It's right around like 3.4. I can get it to say a little bit less if I really force it, but yeah, so right around 3.4 for this guy. So it is a thicker blade stock, a longer blade, and certainly just more robust overall. I happen to really like the feel in the hand. It is very structurally sound. I mean, it's not like any steel-handled knives are really brittle or anything like that. But yeah, I do like the skeletonization that they did. They did a pretty good job of being interesting with the milling there without doing anything super crazy. I do kind of wish that they'd have the ability to have the pocket clip reversed, but you win some, you lose some, especially at what is this guy worth? Like $25 maybe? You really can't complain too much there. So, alrighty, I'm gonna throw this guy back together. That's when I start getting into my Bob Ross voice. Now, I haven't sharpened this guy up yet. I do actually plan to do that in the near future here, but I actually needed to replace a whole lot of lights out in the garage where I have my knife sharpening equipment. And I got those coming in tomorrow, so I have a good 8 or 9 knives that I actually need to sharpen up here. So I'll be getting to that, probably tomorrow. But in the meantime, yeah, this guy is super easy to just throw right back together. At least most of the way here. Alrighty, I'll switch back over to my T6 bit so I can, here, I will close the blade. You can hear it's certainly loose at the moment, and that's fine. If you'd actually worried a little bit about scratching the thing up, you probably shouldn't close the blade first, but heck, I really do like stonewash kind of knives in general, because well, they'll hide things in general. I don't know why I'm messing with the clip yet. It's not its time. Get those body screws in first. Alright, and you know what? I'll even put the body screws in on the front first here. I'm actually going to keep them just a little bit loose now that I think about it, because that might come into play with blade centering. So we'll go over that just a little tiny bit first here. Alrighty. And then because of the way that this guy is constructed, if I actually want to get this blade tightened up correctly, gonna have to use the double pin approach. Yeah, looks like you might be just slightly off center. Not my favorite thing to see, but we can at least work with it. And by doing that, I actually want to essentially I'm going to take a little piece of paper here. I actually slide that in and kind of wedge it a little bit. The more you can, the better, but this is a pretty thick little chunk of paper here. There we go. Then I'll go ahead and get this guy tightened up and then just back it off just a little tiny bit. And it looks about the same, unfortunately. So the next step that I'm going to go ahead and try and do here is loosen up the pivot just a little bit here. I will still place that piece of paper in there, but now I will crank down on all of the body screws. Just trying to work that tension out of the knife in general. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and swap bits again. That seems to be, yeah, right around right. Maybe just a little tiny bit out, but no. It's actually quite right. It's just you can see the grind at the tip is just a little tiny bit off, which that's fine. It's sharp all the way, but it doesn't seem to be fully symmetrical all the way down the blade here at the tip. Yeah, you can kind of see that right there at the end there. And that's the kind of thing that I end up taking care of when I give these guys my sharpening treatment. But yeah, let's go ahead and get that pocket clip back on there. Happy, friendly little pocket clip. With the shorter pocket screws. And give this guy a good crank down as well. Well, as cranked down as you really want to get with a T6 screw, which generally isn't all that much. But there we go. It's for me at least, is a vast improvement over the initial FH11, just due to my preference on having a much larger knife. And honestly, the blade itself, I don't necessarily mind this length, but I really do need a handle longer than that for this to be as comfortable as it can be. And this just fits my hand perfect. You know, you can see a little bit of it sticks out there. So all four fingers have a perfect purchase on there, which is just particularly what I like and enjoy having in my hands. The flipping action on this guy is actually pretty good. The detent on this one is pretty spot on. Now obviously you can fail it by using kind of more of the fleshy, well, a lot of times you can fail it by using more of the fleshy, there you go, part of your finger, but that's specifically trying to make them fail. And honestly, if a lot of times I'll actually use this section of my finger to pop these knives open. It really depends on how worn down my finger actually is there to just doing, different stuff. Sometimes it gets irritated doing a lot of screwing and whatnot. So, that's and just a perfectly fine way to open it otherwise. Or you can get fancy and use that right there on your middle finger. But yeah, this video's gone on quite a long time. But all I'm really saying is that the FH11 is good for people with smaller hands, more Nick Shabazz sized, even though I don't think he'd ever consider touching one of these. He doesn't like the company, and I understand that. But if you actually need a little bit larger knife, then going with the FH12 or the 13 in this case, it's a much better way to go. And I am pleasantly surprised with that. So with all that said and all that rambling, just want to wish everybody has a good, wonderful rest of your day. And my thoughts and everything are going out to Oregon, where I've had some friends and coworkers kind of displaced and evacuated. And geez, I really hate to see that. It's a rough time for such a wet state. But then again, at the beginning of the year, it was Australia that was super on fire, and right now it's a lot of places. A little bit here in Colorado, some in California, a lot in Oregon, a whole bunch in Africa. And it's really unfortunate, but it's just another thing that 2020 is going to throw our way. So anyway, with all that said, I really do hope everyone stays safe and sanitary, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.